Hello everyone, Criticorn here. Today's ship review will be about the very powerful, heavily armored landing craft, the Redeemer. This well-armed combat vessel allows players the opportunity to participate in heavily combat-driven roles while lending support to the infantry it's also delivered. And while this info may already be known to vets in a game where the ships are still in development and subject to change, it's important to remember that the owners of these ships enjoy playing that supportive combat-driven role. And while there are situations where you could leave your vessel, it will be more beneficial to lend that support using the ship itself. In the official description, the Redeemer is a powerful fighting ship capable of holding its own in combat. With a powerful weapons payload dotted with turrets and missiles, the Redeemer also doubles down as an armored landing craft capable of delivering armored soldiers for first-person combat. In its current design, it requires a crew of 3 to operate, 2 gunners and a pilot. If you are carrying the 6 Marines, the cargo is going to be reduced to 12 standard cargo units. Of course, what the Redeemer lacks in cargo capacity certainly makes up for in firepower. The first armament the Redeemer has are 2 turrets on the top and the bottom of the ship, operated by 2 individual crew members. And while I am just going to add my own personal speculation to these 2 turret gunners, I think they're going to be very important and very critical, with not only protecting the Redeemer throughout the entire engagement, but lending any support to the troops on the ground that need it. The Redeemer itself is going to be landing in a lot of hot LZ zones, and the Redeemer pilots are going to need to lay down as much suppressive fire as possible to protect the Marines while they try and find cover or while they try to board the craft. The Redeemer pilot is also going to have an arsenal of weaponry to choose from to not only deal with hostiles on the ground, but also to take care of air-to-air threats. There's going to be 2 guns, one on either side for the pilot to use, along with a pilot-controlled turret underneath the front of the cockpit of the ship. There's also going to be 2 missile racks stowed under each wing. Needless to say, the Redeemer pilot certainly has a lot of frontal forward firepower at their disposal. Of course, with all this frontal firepower, in its current state, the Redeemer certainly has a very exposed rear blind spot. Due to the position of the turrets, they simply just can't reach. Of course, we're just going to have to wait and see what the developer's finalized version of the ship is when the game is released, and I'll include any changes in an updated video. Of course, one of the most excitable features that a lot of players are looking forward to with the Redeemer is the ability to board other ships. Because of its docking collar, this will not only allow players flying in a Redeemer to enjoy the first-person shooter aspect of Star Citizen, but also the ability and the chance to actually steal another ship.
Of course, let this be a warning to ye pirates or anyone who wants to use the Redeemer to steal another vessel.
It's just a little reminder that the developers have always said that they don't want Star Citizen to become, and I quote, Grand Theft ships. Of course, this doesn't mean that players won't try. They certainly will. Maybe one will succeed, but the game will be very punishing in the end for players who do try and board ships on a daily basis while not trying to generate a second source of income. So just keep in mind to use the Redeemer in other combative roles that aren't boarding ships. There's going to be a lot of different missions and variety for Redeemer pilots, whether it be going off to a far-off outpost and neutralizing it because it turned hostile, taking over stations, factories, and nodes, or using their stealthiness to come up to a corporate, heavily secured structure and stealing the intel from within. Now, I'm going to share my own personal views and opinions, along with speculation because the game hasn't really released the full combat-ready system just yet. But I hope you guys can understand where I'm trying to come from, just so I can help you newer players understand what this ship is, how you're going to use it, and what you can expect to get from it. Now, I think sometimes Redeemer pilots foresee themselves acting as one of the Marines that they just dropped off. Once dropping off the Marines, landing their Redeemer, and then going and participating in the first-person shooter element. While there might be missions or events that actually need that or dictate that particular element, Redeemer pilots should never be leaving their ship at any time. The Redeemer pilot's going to need to fulfill a variety of different kinds of supportive methods in order to protect the troops, whether it be on a station in space or on the surface of a planet. The first will go without saying, but air superiority will be the #1 priority when it comes to trying keeping the skies clear for Redeemer pilots, not only for the Redeemer itself, but for the survival of the Marines and protecting them from airstrikes. And if possible, providing air reconnaissance will also help the Marines on the ground, calling out different enemy troops, locations, and structures that might slow down the Marines or jeopardize their safety. Of course, another feature is going to be when the Marines request a very accurate airstrike on a particular target. Coordinating with your 2 turret gunners, you'll be able to take out that target with your array of different weaponry. And of course, being able to pick troops up and drop them off throughout the entire engagement is really going to give the Marines the upper hand. As the battle shifts and turns throughout different terrain elements, being able to take those troops to different elevated positions to give them the tactical advantage will certainly help the troops move along throughout the battle. Of course, with a fair share of victories, there certainly will be many defeats, and hopefully the best Redeemer pilots will be able to read the battlefield ahead of time, to see if the enemies are gaining back air superiority or overwhelming the ground forces. If the Redeemer pilot can simply evacuate the rest of the surviving personnel and Marines, they'll live to fight another day. Of course, while I am just speculating on these particular scenarios, I think the basic principles are still there, and the Redeemer pilot is going to be playing a very strong supportive role throughout the engagement, offering sound tactical information that's going to help the troops advance further through the field, while providing great cover and air support throughout the entire engagement. And while the ship will certainly be popular in the pirate community, I think players in the UEE Empire are certainly going to have just as much fun, and not just for combat-driven roles. I think there's going to be a lot of missions that will require search and rescue, or investigation into a ship that was lost and never heard from again. And as the developers have talked about rare content, I think there's going to be a mission here or there where you end up having a really cool scary alien encounter with some hostile aliens, which will then unlock another rare quest and lead deeper into the galaxy. Now, if you would like to pledge for this particular ship, it is $250. While it is a little more on the steep side, the ship really is a lot of fun and offers a great variety for players who enjoy not only the pirate career, but also transporting troops and playing that heavy combat supportive driven role within an engagement. I think the ship is going to be a lot of fun for players, and I fully intend to earn this ship in-game. Now, I also do have to admit that I have a small personal obsession with the principle of this kind of ship. I've always enjoyed seeing movies like Attack of the Clones, where the fast attack shuttlecraft would fly in with a huge array of firepower, also helping to transport and deliver troops to their destination. And I've always had this strange obsession to always want to fly the Pelican dropship in Halo, but have never been able to do so. So the Redeemer really offers and opens that ability up for me, and I can't wait to use this ship in-game. So with that said, I hope this video was insightful and able to help you newer players better understand the ship and see if it was a right fit for you. And as always, thank you so much for all the support you guys have been giving me. It's so cool to see that you guys are enjoying this content, and that's all that matters to me, and I hope you guys continue to enjoy my future reviews on ships and other videos that I keep producing on this channel for Star Citizen. So as always, thank you so much for all of your likes, subscriptions, and comments down below. I hope you guys have a great week, a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later.